not the banner, but the countdown. Okay, looks like we're all set here. You hear G. All right, we got your name down at the bottom, so anybody has any questions, you can ask. But today we're going to continue our little interviews here with our wedding vendors, so that if you're trying to plan your wedding and things like that, and you don't have a wedding planner, you can kind of get educated here, asking some professionals, and don't have to feel like you're pressured. Because there's, sometimes you go somewhere and they're like, yeah, go ahead, get the extra this and extra that. And you're like, I don't know. Of course, they're going to tell you to do that. But so today we have G with Sugar Petals. She's with us. And she's
hello.
Hey. You're excited even after a long day of work?
Yes, I am.
Cool. Awesome. So I think we invited all the state of Florida to show up here today. So.
Well, I know I did, but some of them are working.
I think you have a few more friends than I do. So it's probably going to work out, but with your help there. All right. Anyhow, just kind of settling in. Again, if anybody has any questions, go ahead, put them in the comments there, and we will be glad to do our best in answering that question. If not, we'll make up a funny story to go along with it. So.
Of course, just go along.
Yeah, that's always the best thing. It's kind of like NASCAR. Everybody looks for the wrecks. They go for the wrecks. That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, disappointing when there's no wreck. So, G, well, tell us a little bit about yourself, like how you got into cake decorating or design. I'm going to say design because there's a little caveat to all this cake stuff.
Well, I've always loved baking. It's one of my things that I've always loved to do, but I never did enough of it. So about 17 years ago, I was going through this rough moment in my life, personal problems, and I wanted to do something for myself. And I go, you know what? Let me go ahead and start taking cake decorating classes. Okay. So I did it for about a year. I took a year of cake decorating classes, and I was still teaching at that time in an elementary school. So I used to take my cakes to school and practice with all the teachers and so forth. But the funny story is how I came to think of Sugar Petals is I got tired of doing cakes and I wanted to do something with flowers because I love flowers. So believe it or not, about 7 years ago, I had a dream.
A dream. Uh-oh.
I had a dream of how I can make flowers into cupcakes or cakes or something that was flower related. And in my dream, I literally just thought of a bouquet with cupcakes, making them into flowers. So I remember I woke up in the middle of the night and my husband was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I need to write this down. Because it was just a dream. And then that's where Sugar Petals started.
Okay. So you had a dream. So
I had a dream of how I can try to put flowers into cupcakes and make a bouquet.
Gotcha. Well, that's cool. Hey, so you can always say that was my dream.
That was my dream. Yes.
Oh, well, say, hey, just everybody's joining us here. Thanks for joining us there. And if you have any questions, let us know. Anything AMA, I don't know. I always wonder, what was AMA? Ask me anything. So we're going to say ask me anything, but let's keep it to cakes and stuff. So that's a pretty awesome thing. I like the fact. Now, did you go to a school or did you do this remotely somehow, or what?
I did it in actually I did it back then when Michael's used to do cake decorating classes. This was again like 17 years ago. And I went to Michael's and I did all their courses within a year. Okay. I did them, and it would be at night. It would be during the night. And I would go from school straight over there and do that because it was something I wanted to do for myself.
So you went from teacher to student.
To student, yes. Well, definitely.
That is awesome. So Did you do anything? Did you just start from then doing your own stuff, or did you work at
Yes,
a
I've always
retail?
loved baking. So I learned how to do all the cake stuff, how to do tiered cakes and how to do decorations and all that stuff. Um, but that, like I said, I wanted to get away from cakes, and I decided to do cupcakes and floral designs. So the flower designs was a lot on my head, and then I started doing a lot of research of what I can do to make, real life looking flowers in from buttercream,
Right.
because you could do a lot of it from fondant. Fondant
Right.
is that hard thing that looks almost like porcelain,
Yeah.
but a lot of people don't like that. Even though it looks very pretty, they don't like it. So I had to learn how to make it out of buttercream.
Oh, okay. Well, so yeah, because I've watched those shows, and my wife says, "Yeah, you throw that stuff away. Nobody
Yes.
eats that stuff."
It looks pretty, but a lot of people just take it off and then they eat the cake.
Yeah, it is edible though. But
It
it
is.
is better at buttercream. Now, there's always that buttercream. What's the other cream kind of icing that people kind of prefer? Either
There's
buttercream or royal cream or whatever it is.
there's meringue and there is
Uh,
royal icing, and I mean there's a different ones. There's Swiss meringue, Italian
oh,
meringue.
my goodness. Well,
Yeah, there's a lot.
see that's a good thing. I wouldn't know that, and if I was going to go and have a cake decorated, I'd be like, well, put some icing, and you'd be like, well, what kind do you want? Do you want this kind, this kind, this kind? Like, I don't know.
Exactly. Now, for me, the best one to do it, to be able to do the flowers, is American buttercream,
American
because
buttercream.
it's the one that becomes stiffer.
Okay.
With time, it can crust, so then they won't flop.
Okay. That sounds like us, kind of hard exterior. So Americans, aren't we like that? Oh, okay. So that's awesome. And now, so you had that in a dream, and so
Yes.
when you have an example of what you do, right? You
Yes,
have
I
this.
I- I'll be at the wedding show at the La Cita Country
Oh,
Club
okay.
wedding show on September 4th. So I started making hard examples. They're royal icing examples in
Mhm,
fake cupcakes so that they won't get damaged. But this
mhm,
is an idea of what I do. This is a cupcake, and oops, this way. And this is just a flower on it. I can do any kinds of flowers.
mhm.
I'm there's I don't think there's many flowers that I haven't done. This is a rose. So I just love doing them. And one of the ones that sells a lot would be succulents. People love succulents.
Right.
And then one of my latest design that I absolutely love is the hibiscus.
Hmm,
Now I'll tell you, this is very tricky to do.
no doubt.
It is. But what sells the most besides floral cupcakes is the bouquets, because I do make them to look like a bouquet. And I have an
Mhm.
example here of what it looks like. This is a 7 cupcake bouquet, and this is what it looks like. These are all cupcakes in there.
That is awesome because
Yes.
it's each piece is its own little entity.
Yes, if you see here, this is 1 cupcake, two, three, four, five, six, and then the other one 7. So
Mhm.
this is a 7, and I also do, and it comes flat, so you could set it on a table.
Oh, that's even. Yeah.
I've also done these in for wedding receptions. I've done them in parties.
Mhm.
This is a 7 cupcake bouquet. I also do a 12
Mm.
cupcake bouquet, and pretty soon I'll be introducing the 19
Oh my
cupcake
God.
bouquet. Yeah, and it'll be much larger.
Oh, I could imagine. That is awesome because
Yes.
I mean I would never have thought it's a great way to package something and to let me I got to get up here too. It's
Okay.
a great way to package them because that's the one thing about cupcakes. I don't know if you've probably carried them individually and to have to carry them. Uh, my buddy Chuck, he says his wife wants one. So
Well, give me a call.
there you go. Hey, we can get you the connection here, hook you up with that.
Definitely. But I love them. And then a lot of people use them for all kinds of celebrations. And I've done weddings, like I said, they've done them in the center of the tables. Instead of having regular flowers, they'll have cupcakes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's been different designs that I've done. There's some that I have to play around with, but I do them in all kinds, like in a bouquet or individual cupcakes. Some people would, like, for instance, if they have a party and they'll buy the tower, and then they'll just put cupcakes on a tower. So there's many things that you can do with them, but I just think they look so pretty.
Yeah, I do. So this Rodney the realtor, my buddy here, he says, can you ship those to other areas? Are you able to ship those?
Well, I wish I can ship them. You cannot believe how many messages I get from around the world from Netherlands, Australia. I mean, I get messages constantly if I can ship them. There's no way. They will not make it in one piece.
Oh, they're
There's
works of
just
art.
no way. It's only local.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the only crazy people, the loco. But
Local people.
well, I do know that I order ice cream, and it comes from I don't know where. It takes forever to get here, but they pack it in ice, dry ice. So it's not the fact that it will uh, go from fresh to kind of stale. It's the fact that they'll probably break up on, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
unless if somebody pays you well to drive it to Orlando, you might work that out,
Oh
right?
yes. I mean, I've had customers. I have a loyal customer who lives all the way in Miami, and she, as a matter of fact, yesterday she placed another order, and they will drive up here to pick it up and then take it down with them.
Yeah, because you can't really get that at Publix.
No.
Sometimes you
No,
have
although
trouble getting this.
Publix cakes and cupcakes do taste very good.
Right.
You can't get them. No.
Yeah, if you can't get your mom or can't get you to do it, then you go to Publix and get yourself a cake.
Definitely, yes.
So that is great, and to be able to do that now. When I've watched those shows, it seems like that is a specific discipline to itself. I mean, there's the cake maker and the icer and all that, and then there's the person who knows how to do the floral arrangements and sculptures and stuff. So that is a
Yes,
definite
that comes
skill.
with a lot of practice.
Yeah.
A lot of practice. A lot of practice. I wish I could show you. I don't have pictures of my first bouquets when I had the dream of the first bouquets versus now that I've been doing this for about 5 years now. So
Cool. Yeah. Hopefully we improve, right?
Yes.
Because I look at some of my photos from back then, and then I'm like, oh my goodness. Rodney probably, if I took the pictures I've done for him and then the ones that I've done now, it's like he's like, "What? I paid you for this?"
Definitely.
So that's a good thing. Now, I was want to ask you, what's the most you've done in one day?
Well, the most I've done in one day, and it was crazy, was 96 cupcakes. Wow. That was because I'm the designer and the one that does it. My husband helps me with the baking and making buttercream, which I'm so thankful for him. He's my sous chef. But the only one that does the design is me. So I can only pipe for so long before my hand is about to fall off.
Exactly.
So 96 is the most I've done in one day.
Oh,
yes.
96. Now that's pretty good. But so that means that if you want a bunch of them, you got to get in advance of that.
It has to be done in advance. Yes, it will be done in because cupcakes last good for about 2 to 3 days out. So I would start them if it's a big one, 2 to 3 days before, or I would have to ask help from another baker to help me.
Oh, yeah, we don't want to do that.
Well, unless if I grow, that's
there you
my
go.
plan to grow, and I'll have plenty of staff.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, I did have another question here. Somebody asked, let me get rid of this question. This one, D said, no, so what flavors do you offer?
Okay. Because I work from home, I don't have space. So I only have 2 flavors, vanilla and chocolate, which vanilla and chocolate keep me pretty busy. If I ever were to have my own shop where I had more space to store things, then obviously I can do, strawberry, lemon, and so forth. But right now, unfortunately, because of the space constraint, I can only do vanilla and chocolate.
Okay. Well, hey, this next question kind of is one that I would have asked, but because I'm keto. So are there any sugar-free options on those?
I do get a lot of, I always get asked if there's dairy-free, sugar-free, keto, gluten-free. I mean, there's just so many varieties out there. But again, because of my space constraint, there's so many different ingredients that I would need to use for all the variety. And at this moment, everything is full fat, 100% full fat. There's nothing diet oriented with my cupcakes.
Oh, okay. Hey, but what a way to go, right? If you're going to go out, that's the way to go. Thanks, yes. Anthony, for that. But yeah, it looks like that's sugar-free is a pretty popular thought.
Yeah,
so, hey, sometimes we get a bunch of requests, like, I've got requests for certain things and I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll start doing that.
Yeah, I have a list of gluten free that I want to do. Vegan also, 'cause that's a big thing right now.
Right.
But it's gonna be quite a while.
Yeah. Well, hey, so if y'all want these options, then you got to start putting in some orders so she can expand her house, and I'm sure that she can
Get
find
a
a good.
shop.
Yeah, I think you got a good realtor that you can kind of get you to locate a commercial
I do,
space.
I do, I do have the realtor can help me get a space. It's just I need the business first.
He's also a sous chef. Well, we had another question here, Anthony. What is the most popular flavor? Maybe we can end this chocolate vanilla fight here.
You know what? It's pretty even. It's pretty even, but I believe chocolate is more popular than vanilla.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
that's
chocolate. I
definitely.
mean, it's pretty even. It's right there, but I think chocolate won by a little bit.
Oh well, hey, well, we'll let that one go. The funny thing is, talking about flavors, I went to an ice cream store with a friend of mine, and you can always try, and it had all these crazy flavors, and they're asking us what we want to try, and we said, okay, I'll try this, I'll try this, and they said, well, hey, Jonathan, what? I'm going to tell him Jonathan here, and what flavor you want to try? And he says vanilla, and I'm like, you out of all these flavors, you're gonna try vanilla? What's wrong with you? So,
Oh, vanilla, it's basic.
oh. Hey, no. Well, I was like, if you're gonna try something, so what we got? You've got an offer to build you a space out here. My buddy Chuck here says build you some spots there. But the other thing is, do you have a minimum order or a maximum order that you will fulfill? And maybe you know, again, if
Well,
a bride
minimum
is doing
order,
things.
if you're going to order a bouquet, you could just order one. That's fine.
Hmm.
If it's cupcakes, minimum order is 6
Uh-huh.
for a minimum order. And as a maximum, right now, haven't, I don't have a max because I haven't had it a huge, I've had people that have ordered 300 cupcakes, but
Hmm.
I've worked on that,
Right.
within the time frame. But
Mhm.
I don't right now. I don't have a max. Of course,
Yeah.
it'll change with
Right.
time, but right now I don't have a max.
You'll be a
But I
decorating
do have
machine.
the yeah, and I do have some customers that have called me to see if I do tastings.
Yeah.
I do tastings for wedding. I don't do tastings for, just to order cupcakes or for a bouquet, but for wedding and events, I do tastings. It's right now free of charge.
Hmm.
At this moment,
Hmm.
there's no price for that, but I do let them taste the vanilla and the chocolate, and I'll have a couple of designs for them to look at and for them to take and go ahead and, take that as a sample.
Sample, yeah. Well, that's pretty cool because if you buy now, you can get a free tasting if you're doing a wedding, but you'll be able to come back later when people have to pay because they're gonna be beating down
You
your
never
door.
know. Yes.
Yeah. So Dee had a good question as far as aesthetics. Does having chocolate keep you from doing light color flowers, or does it not matter?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Light color flowers, since they're going to be on top of the cupcake,
Uh
it
huh.
doesn't matter because I always put a little layer of buttercream on
Hmm.
top of the cupcake so that the buttercream can stick on
Hmm.
to the cupcake itself. But it doesn't matter. What's the problem is the dark colors.
Hmm.
Not because it'll seep through or anything, but because the dark colors do alter the
Hmm.
taste of the buttercream. And then if you're going to be at a wedding or something, let's say, and you have like burgundy red or dark royal blue, people are going to be walking around with, blue tongues. Or so that's the only, and it does alter the taste because the more food coloring you put in there to make it darker, it does alter the taste a bit. So that's why
Yeah.
some customers, when they want dark colors like black, I'm
Oh.
like, I don't suggest it. I can do black accents on a flower, but to do the whole thing black, it's not a good idea.
See, and there's a good thing about going to a professional and asking some of these questions is because you've got these ideas maybe as a bride or as a couple, and like I'm going to do this, and then it's like, hold on, you got to think about not just you eating that, but the guests as well. So yeah,
Yes.
that's kind of the point of all this is because sometimes you feel stupid asking certain questions, but yeah, that's a good one about. I remember red icing. I was like, I'd always pick that out because it was so bitter.
It does.
So
It does alter the taste, and that's some stuff people ask me. I love when they ask me, "What's better?" because I'll give
Mhm.
them my opinion. You don't always have to go with it, but I'll tell you what's better according to what the customers say. Just
Sure.
like when designing a bouquet, some people will require or ask for a specific color or a specific flower. Like they say, okay, I want a pink bouquet and I want hydrangeas. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay. So then I'm like, okay, do I feed off the hydrangeas and do other things, or you just want pink and hydrangeas? Because then that's
Right.
what I'll do. But
Mhm.
I love when people tell me, do whatever you want. Because I can do whatever I want. But I'll have some customers that will say, okay, they like purple and they like green, so do something with purple and green. It doesn't matter what the flowers are. So
Right.
I like the free will that they give me.
Uh-huh.
But when they do have specific requests, like, oh, they must have roses and they must be this. I mean, I still do them, of course, because I love doing that. But it gives me, it doesn't give me free range
Right.
like I would like to do.
It's not as much pressure, but so we do have a related question to colors. So can you use any color or color match for an event like the wedding colors if somebody wanted specific?
I have now color matching. hmm, that takes some time.
Right.
Color matching is not easy at
It's
all.
subjective too.
Yes, and then I'll have customers that will send me a color and they go, "This is the color of the wedding." Like for instance, they'll say it's going to be teal. I'm just going to say teal because it's a popular color. And then I'm like, "Okay, can you send me a color of the teal because teal has so many shades?"
Hmm.
And then they'll send me a light one and a dark one. I'm like, "Okay, which one is it?" Because the dark one and the light one don't look the same.
Exactly.
So it's sometimes it's hard, it's difficult to color match, but the times that I've had to do color match, I just did one for a party that was in rose gold and teal,
Wow.
and they sent me the pictures and I matched it to a T. I've done weddings to a T. I've done bridesmaid colors to a T. It does take some time. As of this moment, I have not been able to color match.
Okay.
I don't know if tomorrow I'll come. I have a party coming up and it's eggplant.
Uh-huh.
I've never done eggplant before, so now I
Ooh,
have to work on the eggplant colors.
there you go.
Um, so it's a challenge. It gives me a challenge, but at this moment, I haven't not had the opportunity of not color matching correctly. I've been able to do it, so
Is that
I'm not
extra?
saying tomorrow will be different, but
Do you have to charge extra for that because
I don't.
it's
I know
time?
there's people that do charge extra for the color matching, but at this moment, I consider it like experience for me because then
Mhm.
I'll take note of exactly what colors I used for these colors. So it's a little playing field for me, so I don't
Yeah.
charge.
Right now, yeah, you can kind of. It's a cheap education. So I
Yes.
do have a question here that I'm going to need your help with, and I think I know what it means. What did you see? Can you see it?
Yes, if I can make deliveries to Miami.
Yes, for a small fee, right?
First, wow, hey, if they're
Uh,
willing to pay,
there you go.
But I have family in Miami, and
Hmm.
if it works in that situation where I'm gonna be in Miami anyways, that wouldn't be a problem. But right now, people that have called me, because I have a lot of friends in Miami, have asked me, "Hey, when are you gonna be in town? Or can you bring this?" My dates don't coincide, so I can only deliver it if I'm really going that way for whatever reason.
Well, you know what would be cool is if you had a Twitter account and you'd say you could post that the week before. Hey, I'm heading to Miami. I'm heading to whatever,
I've done
and
that.
okay, and then you do that. Okay, good. So keep an eye
Yes,
out.
because I did one where I was going to be in Palm Bay for a weekend, and I
Mhm.
posted that I was going to be in Palm Bay, and I actually got some orders from Melbourne and Palm Bay,
There
so
you go.
it
So
was
keep a
just
lookout. So do you have a Twitter account or do you use it
no,
through
it's
Facebook?
just on my Facebook or Instagram account
Okay, so follow Sugar Petals by Yee and on Facebook, and you might, if she's coming to your town, she'll announce
or
that
Instagram.
and
But
Instagram. Yes.
better would be, when I grow, and then I
Mhm.
could have another office in Miami
There you
and
go.
another
Hey,
one here.
headquarters in Miami. So at least
Yes.
have a post office box there. So what now? I know you don't do cakes as much. You do small cakes, but what is the largest one or largest arrangement that you've done? Is that the same as the number of?
No.
Okay, what was
No,
that
I've
deal?
actually done a large cake. I used to, like I said, I used to do cakes, but I steered away from that. I now do small cakes, floral cakes.
Hmm.
Not just regular designs, just floral cakes. But the one I did do was for a wedding. It was for 150 people, and it was a semi-naked cake, and it was 3 tiers, and it was 3 feet tall.
Oh my goodness.
It was very tall. It
Wow.
was very scary to put it together. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, yeah.
Um, it was for my cousin's son that got married, and it was 3 feet tall, and that's the biggest. And I think after that, I was like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
No more cakes.
That is insane. That sounds like a crazy request. 3 foot. Now, is that now when you in the world of cakes, is that you would consider that large in the world of cakes even?
Yes.
So because usually you see them and they're stacked up and they look
Well,
high.
each tier was 4 layers.
Oh
So you had
yeah.
4 layers upon 4 layers, and then 4 layers, and each layer was a foot.
Right. So this may seem kind of cuckoo, but because we've talked about basically what you do is it's more about the decoration than it is about the
Yes.
food, right?
Yes.
And so it seems
Yes.
like that's what the main thing is about a cake, right? Is it's more of a it's a decoration and kind of like a celebration in itself, right?
Yeah, well, cakes can be used for so many different occasions, and it's always great for the bride, to do the cake cutting and do all that for the pictures and so forth. But the services that I offer is more for because of the floral designs, and I do the bouquets. It's more like I'm not going to say a showcase because it's more for the art of it,
Mm-hmm.
for the art versus than the cake itself. It's more for a gift, it's more for decoration. I mean, you still eat it obviously, but it's more for the decor and for the art of what you see from it. Because I have I mean, it just plays well. Like I had a party up in North Carolina, and it was a woodland theme.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a whole centerpiece with make it look like grass with all the woodland animals and the flowers.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was all made out of cupcakes.
Okay.
So it was, but it turned out to be a woodland little, you know, forest at
Right.
the same time. So I just, it's more for the art and, of what you're trying to make it, to look like
Right.
than
Right.
anything else.
So I know we had a few questions here, but so whenever a person is coming to get a cake or cupcakes or design done, what would you suggest to them to keep in mind? Because you, like you say, you have all these people have great ideas, in their mind, but whenever they come to you and you know what will make them happy and their guests happy, is there anything that you can kind of say, hey, this is what you got to keep in mind?
Yes, sometimes I do give ideas. Sometimes they accept it. Sometimes they just continue with theirs, and it's fine. Sometimes we'll put colors together that don't go.
Hmm. Right.
And now I'm like, okay, these two colors really do not go together. Maybe if we add a third color, or if we change this to a lighter color, and then they're like, oh, okay, that sounds much better. And I'm like, okay, good. But
Right.
sometimes they just want a specific color, and I do it because that's what they request. But I do give them ideas to make it look better. And just like if someone tells me, okay, they love purple, what can you do with purple? And I'm like, okay, we could do light purple, dark purple, and we can intertwine some little yellow in there because purple and yellow go well together, and a little bit
Hmm.
of white. And they seem to, they seem to trust my opinion, and they're like, okay, you're the one that knows how to design it, go ahead and do it.
Right.
But like I said, sometimes you have customers that want a specific color, a specific design, and I'll do it.
Work with them on that. Well, that's
Yeah.
good because that's the whole point of hiring somebody, and especially I think with a small business, I
Mhm.
think you would be actually labeled as a cottage industry, part of the cottage
Yes.
industry,
Yes.
because it's just normal stuff that really you could do yourself, but you need a professional to do it of the level that you do it.
Cottage
So
food law. Yes.
yeah. So, and you said you started in North Carolina, and I
Yes.
really appreciate some of the things you mentioned about how you maintain your shop, your kitchen. So, I've been to your shop. Very good cook. Other even in addition to cakes and the cupcakes and stuff. So, you said something that's this is your thing, and maybe people don't appreciate it as much. But we've seen these shows, where they go in undercover, and it's like these people, Gordon Ramsay. It's kind of like my favorite one. And so, what were you saying about that? About cleanliness, I think.
Well, in North Carolina, to have a cottage food law certificate, you actually have to get licensed by the health department to work from home. It's not like in Florida, where in Florida anybody can just bake whatever they want and sell it.
Mhm.
However, there are some rules that you need to abide from. Not excuse me, not everybody follows those rules.
Mhm.
But um speaking about me, I'm pretty much a rule follower, and I would hate to get in trouble. So I do what is asked of me, even if they're not going to come and check up on me.
Right.
But for instance, in North Carolina, to have a cottage food law certificate, the health department actually comes to your house. They check your refrigerator, they check your cupboards, they check your supplies, they check your hot water and your pipes. And after you've done all that and you've done a business plan of what you're going to sell and so forth, they actually give you the A-OK for you to start working from home.
Mm.
You can't have pets in the house.
Mm.
That's like a no-no.
Right.
If you have pets in the house, they won't give you the certificate. And they're very picky about smoking, but I don't smoke, so that was not a problem. But when I moved here to Florida, sorry that I speak with my hands. I'm just, I'm Cuban. I
Hey,
speak with my hands.
you're supposed to do
Um,
that.
Here in Florida, they tell you things that you shouldn't be selling. There's a lot of things that you should not be selling that people do sell, and I see them, but that's not my business.
Yeah.
But they don't come and check your house. But because I come from the background in California, in North Carolina, sorry,
Mhm. Right.
I always make sure. First of all, I don't have any pets in my house, so every customer can rest assured that there are no hairs flying around the kitchen from any pet. I don't smoke, neither does my husband. And I do keep a separate cupboard for the baking supplies. I have the thermometer in the refrigerator like it's requested, and the hot water is always burning in my house because I literally put everything under hot water. And it's because that was part of being able to have a business from home in North Carolina. So I brought that with me here in Florida, and the customers can be rest assured that I'm very clean.
Right.
I'm not, touching my face and then touching the food.
Yeah.
I'm always constantly washing my hands, because it was part of what we were taught in North Carolina in order to run a business.
Yeah. That's true. And I know a lot of other places, other states have a little bit stricter laws on that. But and that's good to know, because if basically you'd eat what you're making, that's important. Sometimes people's like, oh, they'll they don't know the difference. Well, I don't want to have to worry about that. We did have another question here. It says, do you do party setup yourself or do you drop it off?
Well, that's a good question. I do both. If I do party setup, there is a fee.
Okay.
There is a fee, one, for the mileage that I have to drive, especially now with gas, everything, all that, because it's my time and the mileage, and I have to set up. And the drop off, if the customers picks up, if I have to drop off, I still charge for the mileage, but not the setup. Like I have a wedding coming up in March, and they're having me just drop off,
Mhm.
which is just fine. So it's just the mileage part. But I do set up as well. If they have a stand to put the cupcakes, I'll set it up for them. If they're going to be putting it on tables, I'll do that as well. I mean, my goal is at one point I want to have my own cupcake stands
Mhm.
as part of my business. Because I have so many ideas in my head, it's just ridiculous. It's just too many. But I have ideas in my head of different stands that I would like to make for different theme parties,
Mhm.
and build them. And then I can rent those out to put the cupcakes and so forth. But right now I don't have any of that. But I do
Yeah.
set it up.
Yeah, I was
If
going to
people
ask you
make
about
them,
that,
I
because
do
I
set
know
it
when
up.
we delivered cakes, we had the stands and we always had to get those back and everything. So,
Yes.
but yeah,
Yes.
cool. So that's the ultimate goal, because the first thing, like if you buy a bouquet, it's kind of arranged.
Yes.
So what you could do with those is, I know it may be a little bit expensive, but if you're going to have 10 people at a table, you could buy one of those for each table, and boom, you've got it.
Yeah, and I've had up in North Carolina, I had a tea party once, and they
Mhm.
had a ladies' tea party, and they had one on all the tables. And I've even had people that have ordered them for dinner parties.
There you go.
So
That's pretty
something,
cool. So
yeah.
not just weddings, but other things.
Any event, I'm there.
So now, like you say, the big thing is the bride and groom cutting the cake. So if they just get cupcakes, does it seem the anticlimactic, or what? I mean, I'm not being negative about it, because I prefer a
Of course.
cupcake to a cake myself.
Well, everybody has, what they consider it to be, but the tradition is for the bride and groom to do cut into a wedding cake. So what I've seen is they'll buy a small cake,
Mhm.
which is the one that they'll cut into, and then the one that they save for the next year or whatever. And then if they have like a tower, they'll have cupcakes for all the guests, and then
Mhm.
they take a picture with them cutting the small cake. I've also had a wedding that had a small two-tier cake, and that's the one they took the pictures with and everything, and then they had cupcakes for all the guests. So it just depends on preferences. I mean, if you want to do the whole tradition of cutting the cake for the pictures and so forth, that's fine. But you can also get a cupcake, cut it, and stick the buttercream on their noses, just the same as a cake.
There you go.
Just
So,
cut it
but
in half.
so you will do, like you said, you will do the small ones,
I
like
can do a small one,
for
yes,
that, yeah. So
the
yeah,
small
I
one.
thought it was kind of cool because it's really how much cake you're going to really eat at that time, and it's a little bit better projectile when you got the back of the, and you can do that right in their face with,
You could.
it's a little bit easier to
You have
handle than
two,
trying to fork it.
and that'll be a nice picture.
Yeah, there you go. Each person right in the face, and
Yeah,
but
definitely.
that is pretty cool. Now, as a business, I I think it's kind of funny because there's certain industries that it's acceptable with having, some industries, they're known as female owned businesses because it means, hey, this is somebody who's trying to overcome odds and stuff. But like in cake decorating, have you had any competition or any challenges being a female owned business in the cake decorating
No,
situation?
no, thankfully I haven't. Everybody's been very supportive. They were very supportive in North Carolina. As a matter of fact, when I left North Carolina, all my customers were so sad. I even have one that still messages me and she's like, "When are you going to come back? So I miss your cupcakes." She was I mean, she was a constant customer, so that was great.
Yeah.
But I've never had anybody. Everybody's been very supportive. They were supportive in North Carolina. They've been supportive here in Florida. Um, and my husband, like I said, he's my sous chef. He does the baking, and he does most of the time he helps me with the baking and the buttercream. I do all the coloring and designing. But
The
he's
hard
just
stuff.
been
The
it's
hard-
the what?
You do all the hard stuff.
I do. Well, I've tried, believe it or not, Dave. I have tried to convince him to let me teach him to do at least one design, an easy design. And he's like, "Nope,
Mm-mm.
that's you." Don't get me on that.
Yeah, for
But yeah,
sure.
I would love the help with the design, but you do have to have a lot of patience and you need to have an eye for the detail. That's
Right.
the thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. That's true. And I did have a question here about who helps you when you have a lot of work to
My
do.
husband. Oh,
Yeah.
my husband and my parents. My parents drive up from Miami when I have big, big events that are just it's a weekend long thing. My parents actually come up from Miami, and there's not much that they can do in the kitchen wise because of the space, but they'll put the structure of the bouquets together, they'll put boxes together, they'll take the cards, all the little tedious stuff that comes with the packaging.
Hmm.
They'll take care of that. And then another help that my mom does for me, which is fantastic, is as I'm going, she's cleaning.
Oh,
So she puts the hot water and starts putting everything in there to clean while I go, and I don't have to stop myself.
no. Well, that's important, to keep you
Yeah.
going because like we said, you're the machine. You are the talent of the situation.
Yeah, the fun part is when I have to take breaks and then my husband has to massage my wrist.
Yeah.
He massages my wrist and the palm of my hand because it does it's almost like I say, have you ever saw the show Friends where Chandler gets that claw? That's like my hand gets like that from all the piping.
Oh, I can imagine because there's no modern way of doing that. You
Yeah.
just squishing it down.
And it's done one by one. Like for instance, if I show you this uh
Mm,
daisy book, every single petal is done one by one.
wow.
There's not just one thing that you do. Like I'm literally doing every single petal, every single stamen, grass,
Right.
and all that. So
Yeah. See, I noticed too on your website, on your Facebook, is that you had pictures of actual flowers, so you kind of got to use those as guides.
I do.
So,
I love flowers.
what? Well, evidently, I mean, could you imagine hating? Oh, I hate these flowers.
Oh, I
Doggone, I got
love
to make another.
flowers. So that's why it's like that's what my dream came to be is like flowers, and I loved baking, and I just wanted to put them together.
For sure, for sure. So what is your favorite design? What you have like this is one I love doing every time I do it.
I love them all. I do love them all, but I think one of my new favorite is the hibiscus.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
hibiscus, I think it's my new favorite.
That
I
looks
really do.
awesome. So how do you
Yes.
make that the stick up part? I mean, you don't have like a matchstick in there, do you?
No, this is actually edible.
Okay. I'm just
I
like,
do everything of mine is edible. I'll put different treat as tricks in there, and I let the customers know about it. But
mhm.
it's all edible. Nothing is that you have to, pull it apart and not eat it.
Right.
I do. But my other favorite one is the sunflower. I do love sunflowers as well.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
I love the
My wife should
sunflowers.
see that. She loves
Yeah,
sunflowers. That's her favorite.
that is my
Yeah.
favorite, sunflowers. Yes.
Um, oh yeah, that was kind of the question I had a little bit earlier. This is getting my buddy Rodney says, sorry, but how much time in advance do you need for an order?
Um, right now, a week is enough if it's a regular, a cupcake bouquet or like a dozen cupcakes. But if you're having a wedding, as soon as possible.
Hmm.
As soon as possible, because I cannot guarantee that I'll have the date available, especially since I'm the one that does the designs. But normally if it's just regular cupcakes or a bouquet here, or even 2, 3 bouquets a week in advance, is just fine.
Gotcha. So now last week I spoke to a DJ friend of ours, and he said this is what happened. I don't know if this applies to you or not, but like for me it would in my industry. Of what happened is he was consulting with his clients, and they said, well, we're having just a few people around this time to this time and all. And so he was like, oh, it's like a little gathering. It's not like a real party or it's just a little bit of a party. And then in a second consultation or a third consultation, it came out that, oh, this was a wedding. And so he was planning on doing like an event, but now he's like, oh no, this is a wedding. So it's kind of like it's a different price structure. It's a different approach to it. So do you have to deal with that kind of thing? Uh,
Okay. Now, many people may not agree with me, but in the cake industry, if you tell, just like the flower industry, if you tell them that it's for a wedding, they're going to hike up the price. It
mhm,
doesn't matter.
right.
They're going to hike up the price for flowers. They're going to hike up the price for the cake, because it's just part of the business.
Mhm,
I personally don't understand why. Because you're getting married does not mean that my cupcakes are going to be much prettier for your wedding than they would be for this person who's getting it for their anniversary. To me, it's a special event regardless. So for me, a cake, the small cake that I'm gonna do, whether it's for a wedding or whether it's for your next door neighbor,
right.
it's gonna be the same price.
Yeah.
I personally don't hike up the price. I think that's unfair to brides. They already have so much stress and that they have to take care of, than to think, man, I could have gotten this cake, for $70, and because it's a wedding, they're charging me 300. And sadly, that's basically how it works. But my I can't justify the hike in the price, because I'm going to give the same dedication to you, whether it's a wedding or whether it's for your next door neighbor.
Right. And I think that's true. I mean, and this is something I've always said is that you charge what you're happy to charge. I mean, if I'm charging this person, $150 to take pictures of their home, um, I'm going to be happy with it. I should be happy with that. If I'm begrudgingly doing that, then first, they're not going to get a good product. And second, I'm going to be hating the job. So it's just,
Yeah.
I'm going to charge the same to this person as would to that one, unless it's a gift, unless I've chosen to give this gift to somebody.
Oh, of course, of
So
course.
yeah, even
And
like
I
Dee was
agree with what
saying,
Dee says.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like they charge you $150. It's, and they make the same sheet cake that they
Exactly.
will.
See, and for me is the design. The price is going to be not going to be based on the cake, because the cake is a cake. Whether you're doing it for a wedding or for, like you said, a birthday party or for your neighbor, it's going to be a cake. The design is what I'm going to be charging for, because that's what's going to take my time.
Mhm.
That is going to take my time, and every flower, depending on what it is. For instance, if I have a peony flower, but then I have the succulent is going to take a lot more time than the peony, a
Yeah.
lot more time. So I'm going to charge you what the design is. So I don't agree that just because if it's a wedding, I mean, you could have a naked cake and they're going to charge you triple the price because it's for a wedding.
Mm.
That doesn't. I'm going to charge the cake. The cake base for me is the same price, and I just charge on the design.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and Jasmine loves my cupcakes. Yes,
Well,
she
she also
does.
put this photo. So no, it's true now. Like with me as a photographer, I'm gonna, I kind of figure I'm gonna take about an hour and a half to do these
Mhm.
photos and edit them. But like with a wedding, it does take all day. Sometimes it will require two photographers, and I've got to edit all those photos because that's something I can't send out. And then whether they want, like not to be a commercial for me, but at least 10 printable shots per
Mhm.
hour of time. And so I've got to edit all those photos and, at least give you 10 of those that are going to be really good. So,
Yeah, it is.
no, I think
Time
it's
is
true.
money. Time is money. So
Mhm.
that's why I said the harder the design, the more expensive it's going to be.
Right.
And just like with you, the longer you're going to take doing this or for the event is the more you have to charge because
Yeah.
time is money.
Right. And so I think like in his case as a DJ, it will take longer because he's present. You do your job and you boom, you're done.
Yes.
Sometimes they have cake cutters, right? Don't they? They have professional cake cutters. You
Normally they do.
could you?
If not, like you go to all the parties that I go to and there's no cake cutter, they're like, gee, come over here. It's your turn to cut the cake.
Yeah.
All my friends are probably laughing because they know it's true. I'm the one who has to cut the cake every time we go to a party because I know how to slice it.
Yeah, you're the cut up. You are a cut up.
I know exactly how they how you have to cut a cake.
Well, what you ought to do is like, how these chefs they have these knife kits. You could
Yes.
have one, it just has two of them. One for big cutting cakes and one smaller one for cutting cupcakes. You can cut them in half with that. So you can
Yes.
be like, you could charge just for cutting cakes and cupcakes.
Yeah, well, just is like it's just like when you go to a professional, the cake they have a regular slice cake and then they have what they consider a wedding slice.
Hmm.
A wedding slice is the little tiny one,
Hmm.
and they consider that. So, like for instance, a regular cake that will serve 12 people
Hmm.
for a wedding cake that will serve about 20 because they cut them much smaller. When I give you my slices, is a regular size cake.
Yes, it's a right.
I'm not doing no little slices for you. They're gonna be regular slices.
Exactly. Well, cool. That because yeah, see, that's another thing you wouldn't notice. Like, oh yeah, this can feed 500 people, but it's like, whoa, everybody gets like a piece this big, or it's like an unusually small piece of cake. Not that we
Yes.
should be eating cake unless, of course, you come up with some sugar-free options.
Oh,
Erythritol,
I know. I got.
go
I do have to
erythritol.
work on that. I want to thank. I think I've seen messages from Jasmine, Sammy now, and Loie.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. They do. They are great customers.
Cool, cool. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's usually the best way to get business. You everybody wants to go into brand. Sometimes we go into business stuff here, but you go into branding and all this stuff. But your biggest brand is those people who are here today that are like, hey, I've had them and they're awesome. So keeping that going, and that's a good thing about the tasting and stuff like that because people can say, oh, they're good, but once they've tasted it, and
Yeah.
so like
And
this way. Uh-huh. Go ahead.
sorry, go finish.
Oh no, Calla Lilies. I
Oh
think that was
yes.
that was in my wedding, Calla Lilies, nearly
Yes,
30 years
I
ago.
had her. I did her wedding. I did her son's wedding was the one that was a 3 feet tall.
Oh,
And her wedding had calla lilies, but though calla lilies, the only way I was able to make those were out of fondant.
okay.
But she also had a beach cake that I did for her as well, a beach cake.
Did you have
But
sand? Did you have sand on it?
the sand is crushed graham crackers
Okay, got you.
because it has the color of sand. So you crush it and you put it around and it makes it sand.
Right, that's cool.
See, that's a trick right there.
There you go. Uh-oh, tips and tricks from G. Okay, now this is a good one because I think you and I spoke about this. This one said this customer client. I like client better than customer. We had it frozen 2 years because we forgot it and it was still delicious.
She did. She actually called me and she said, it's been 2 years. Do you think it still tastes good? But I also remember that when she covered it, she called me to see how she should cover it for the year. And I told her, and she literally followed all my directions. So 2 years later, when she called me back and she asked me, would you think it's still good? And I'm like, it should, if you covered it correctly, like I told you to, just cut into it and see what happens. And sure enough, she called me back and she says, this thing tastes just like the day of the wedding. And
Cool.
I'm like, good, because it's 2 years old.
That's awesome. Yeah, see, now just to let you know, presenting today, it's going to be Sweet Petals Aftercare. If you want a cake 1 year
Sugar petals.
later,
Yeah.
just follow the directions that she will provide for an additional $59.99, and you will be able to eat your cake up to 2 years later. No,
Yeah,
this is
because if you don't
funny.
cover it correctly, it's not gonna taste good.
Well,
It's not.
telling you the truth, this is what happens when you get married at 19 years of age. I'd always heard that tradition, keeping the top of the wedding cake. So we had it put in a box, and then we put that box in the freezer. And then a year later, that was the worst tasting Publix cake ever.
Horrible.
It wasn't Publix, but it was. I didn't have the good sense to realize, or we didn't, that it needs to be wrapped up because it'll get freezer burned. We thought, oh, just stick it in the freezer. It's like, follow G's directions on wrapping up your cake.
Well, even with the cupcakes, Dave, I'll tell you I have customers that will ask me, they go, oh, I'm not giving this about tomorrow. Can I put it in the refrigerator? I'm like, no, not the cupcakes. Cupcakes are so small, they dry out. Don't put them in the refrigerator.
Okay.
Leave them on the countertop, away from any pets, of course. Just leave them in the box that I give them to you, and they should be fine the next day. But if you put them in the refrigerator, they dry out because they're smaller. They're not like a cake.
Right. Okay. That's
Oh
it's
yeah, I
more
did
intense.
Jasmine's.
Yeah. So she's a
I cut
professional.
the cake.
She's a cut up.
I was invited to the party and it was time to cut the cake. And they're like, who do we give it to? And then she's like, Gee, come over here. It's your turn to cut the cake.
Hey, there you go. That's what you can say. If you'd like a cake cutter for free, invite me and feed me, and I'll just mill around. So,
Oh, yeah, it's funny.
but that is one thing, I guess, as DJs and photographers, though, sometimes they will put that in their contract that's part of the payment is that you get to eat with, or that you get to eat first. And some people are crazy
Yes.
about it, because if you eat first, then you can actually take pictures of everybody else, during the
Yes.
reception. Is there
Yes.
anything in your contracts that you're kind of like a stickler about?
I'm time for pickup
Okay.
because I work full time.
Mhm.
For those of you that don't know, I'm a middle school teacher here in Titusville.
And that's and
Yes,
that's
and I
the
still don't know how I have energy.
that's like the infantry of the military is the middle school
Yes.
teacher.
So when someone and I've so far my customers have been pretty good with time. But when they said they're gonna come pick it up at the time that they said, because the weekends for me, I have so many things to do. And then during the week, when it delivers during the week, my husband, he's so wonderful. He does the deliveries for me and he meets the people for pickup. But he also has things to do. He can't just be waiting around. So time is like, if you're telling me you're gonna come at this time, be there at this time. I mean, I understand things happen, but call me and let me know, hey, we're running late or whatnot. But don't let us just sit there because we've got
Yeah.
a million other things to do.
Well, just if your husband has to deliver, at least he's a professional. He's a professional. He used to deliver ice cream, right?
Yeah.
And he was all
he,
over the
he
money.
used to deliver ice cream when his staff was sick and so forth. He used to do it. He had to fill it in for them. Yes.
Exactly. So that's cool. Well, good. So timing is everything, because that is it's a perishable product. You're the first one that we've dealt with a perishable product, or something that has a finite life on there. So uh
Yes.
so I hear a shout out for the husband there. So he's the best.
He is the best.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's a
I
good
agree.
guy. I like him. Um, so I did have a kind of a. So you're going to be in La Cita now. What's the situation with that? It's I couldn't get in there, so it must be a pretty elite. Or they already had like
Well,
50
La
photographers.
Cita Country Club, they do an annual wedding expo, which is just an expo. It's not a market, so nothing's gonna be sold.
Mhm.
Everything is just to showcase. So we had messaged each other back and forth, and then they contacted me and said that they would like for me to be part of their vendor list if I can meet with them. So I went in, I met with the event coordinator, and they're like, okay. After we went and we did the tour around La Cita and everything that it required, they said okay for me to be a vendor, and I'm like, okay, I'll be there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be my first wedding show, so I've never been to a wedding show. It's on more of a smaller scale, so I'm glad that I'm gonna be able to get the experience from it, because I would love to be at the big shows like in Orlando and so forth, with my floral designs. But it is on September 4th between 1 and 5 p.m. I know it's a little tricky on the date because it's a long holiday and a lot of people will be out of town. But if you're in Titusville between 1 and 5 p.m., make sure you go to La Cita. There's going to be about 15 vendors there, and there's going to have free samples. I'm going to have a free little cake sample only of vanilla and chocolate. You get to see some of my designs, and I am going to be raffling off 4-pack cupcakes at the end. So that's just come on by and meet me. Even if you're not interested, just come in and say hi.
Yeah, that's good showing support. Sometimes it's what they do. The guy, the guitar who's busking in the subways, he throws a couple bucks in the guitar case just to get it primed. So, you evidently are. I just this question come up. It's you are multilingual. So if somebody wants something written in how many languages can you speak? We're getting to know you really good now.
Only 3.
Oh, only 3. Well, I
Only
speak
3.
Southern and American and slang language.
Spanish was my first language, and then I learned English when I came to the U.S., and then I learned Italian.
Italian. I could tell when you said the pignon, that flower. How'd you say it? The little pignon. Peony. Yeah, that sounded Italian. Is it? Sounded more Italian. Maybe it's Spanish. I don't know. But anyway, so if you want, congratulations after 50 years of marriage, you can do it in all 3 languages. You can write it if you had to write it. Do you do any of that?
I don't do writing because my handwriting is atrocious.
Okay.
I'm very honest about that. I have people that ask me, can you do writing on the cakes? I'm like, no. My handwriting is atrocious, and I'm just going to mess up the design.
Okay. The flowers look nice, but it looks like somebody was having a fit.
The flower looks nice. Just buy one of those little things you can put on that say whatever you want it to say.
Exactly. That's because you're looking for the cake taste on there.
Yes.
So cool. I think I had one other question. Picking up and tasting. We've got those. So, okay, La Cita, that's what I was wondering. So, like I said, honestly, it is a small event, but it is kind of exclusive because I already had 2 photographers, and I called and I said, hey, I know G, can she get me in? And Sarah was like, we already got enough, and we got a photo booth. So if you want a photo taken there by some machine, some personless, mindless, soulless machine, go do that. Or you could give me a call and I'll just follow G around and be your photographer, for your event there. But yeah, so they do have that going on, and it's a beautiful place, right?
It's beautiful. I had never been inside. I've never been inside.
Yeah, they asked me, actually, one of the things they asked me to do is fly my drone in there and get some pictures. And I was like, well, my drone's kind of big for being inside. And then I went in there and they have this beautiful chandelier. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, it's from Egypt too. And I'm like, no, I'm not flying anything. I'm going to start stooping down, and it's the 10-foot ceiling,
Just in case, right?
Yeah. So you're going to be there. You're going to have some tastings. You're going to have your sous chef there with you, or is it just going to be you?
He's going to be a little late, but he'll be there.
Okay.
He'll be there. It'll be me for at the beginning part.
Okay. So, yeah. Don't want him messing anything.
And I have some designs that I'm showing, and then just some samples. And then I'll have pictures and the promotion. I am giving a promotion and a discount for people that go there. So.
Okay. Are you allowed to tell what the promotion is, or just you gotta?
Well, it's a discount. It's a discount whether you go there or you. Then there's another discount if you book with La Cita and book with me as well. So.
There you go. Cool.
So yes.
Yeah.
You'll just have to go.
Yeah. There you go. And just to let you know that when I was talking to her, one of the receptionists said that lots of times during prom, kids will just come over there and get their pictures taken. They don't have a reservation or nothing. They'll just walk in the back area.
It's a beautiful location.
It is a beautiful location there. So I think your particular product really would go with that because it's a beautiful location and it's a beautiful design element as well.
Thank you.
So cool. Again, that's September 4th from 1 to 5. Okay.
125.
And just
Yes.
check out. Do you know, you don't know where you're going to be at yet? You don't.
No, we're all going to be in the same location, but we're setting up the night before. So
Okay.
Saturday night, I'll know where I'll be at because I'll be setting up, but I won't know until
So,
then.
so you could probably take a picture of that and put it on Facebook, right?
I will.
Okay, good. Yeah, because
I'll
you're
take
good.
videos and pictures, of course.
You're
It's my
good.
first event, so I'm
Hey,
excited.
for sure. I know that that's the way I was with my first art show. I kind of went, not necessarily planning on making a bunch of money, but just kind of getting the feel of it. Because you
Hmm.
can go to, I mean, it was Cocoa Village and we went there every year. But then whenever you go there and you're actually a vendor, it's like, oh, this is different. And it kind of helps you find it's a free market research, I think. So,
Yes,
okay.
I agree.
So, and I've always pounded on customer service, and you evidently are very accommodating on that. So,
Yes, I try
but,
to.
but no, it's obvious because you can see here your customer. So, well, I do appreciate you being here. I think you've been a wealth of knowledge, and as we
Thank
move
you.
along, again, if you are needing anything edible, even if you want to have a staycation or some kind of celebration, go ahead and give Gia a call there. Check her out on Facebook and let her know how much you appreciate her
Yes.
stuff. Let other people know, even if you don't have something coming up, let them know. And by the way, I just want to remind everybody, September 1st, we're going to announce who wins the free photo giveaway for the wedding. So there's still time to get in there and try and qualify for the free wedding. What you got to do is be a subscriber to our channel and then let us know in the comments that you are interested. And there is one last question I do have. We're going to wrap this up. It says, what do you do for men? Is there a men thing that you do?
I get this question so much, and
Oh,
I have
really?
ideas. I have ideas in my head, but I haven't been able to produce them because I don't have the time. But I would love to do something with liquor, but according to the cottage food laws, you cannot have anything with alcohol if you don't have an alcohol license.
Oh,
So I can't, because I wanted to promote a box with six, colors that go more with the meal, and then a bottle of wine. But I'm not allowed to do that. Although there's people who do it,
right,
it's not part of, you can't sell alcohol if you don't have an alcohol license.
right.
So I'm still trying to figure out what I can do for men, but I have ideas running in my head, but I have to make a model so I can show it, and I just have not had time.
Yeah.
Maybe whenever the business grows and I can quit teaching and just have my shop, I'll have tons of ideas for men.
Awesome. Cool. Hey, let me tell you, don't get fool yourself. We like cake just as much as a female, so
No, I know,
I
but
don't care what color it is.
the flower thing. I mean, it's really weird to send a bouquet to a man, although I have sent them. It's fine, but I understand they would like to something more masculine.
Yeah, I
Than,
got you. I got you.
yeah.
Well, cool. Thank you again so much for being here. And again,
Thank
show
you.
up at La Cita 1 to 5 on September 4th. Check out Sugar Petals there. She can support her. And
Thank you.
again, we have the free giveaway. Again, if you know somebody and you want to recommend them and maybe they're having a little time, it's like, hey, you know what? This could really help them out in a free um, photo giveaway. Just put it in, become a subscriber, have them become a subscriber and recommend them. Maybe they're too shy. But one thing I did want to remind everybody, challenge yourself every day to be a better photographer. So thank you so much for showing up. And
Thank you.
if we had a lobby there, we go hang out there because
Yeah.
nobody likes short goodbyes. But thank you so much for being here, and
Thank
we'll
you.
see y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.